Okay. Hopefully this is gonna work and it'll be fine. Because y'all, just when you thought that I was gone and I wasn't ever gonna talk about SNK again, I don't know if it's spoilers, I don't know if it's official. I read the next chapter, 130. I have my thoughts, I have my feelings. First off, y'all know how I feel about Eren. I still say, yeah, he gonna die at the end. I don't think he's coming back. I think this is it. I think he's out the gate. I think I've mentioned, but I don't know. I haven't watched any of the videos where I've talked about this, but I think I mentioned that I re-watched the entire anime and then I reread the entire manga. Because I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I reread the entire series. And as I was reading through it, like, of course, you know, you're coming along themes, you have an awareness of what's coming, so you're anticipating before you even get there, because you're like, oh, like you see the clues about what's going to be coming up. And so you're like, oh snap, like now you look at everything differently because you know so much more about what's coming and what's going on, confirmed. And so as I'm sitting there, this cat is going to like knock this light over. As I'm sitting there reading through this, and we keep going into this saying of you have to fight, right? You were born in this world, you have to fight. And I was like, Eren has set this whole thing up, which we see. I mean, if this is true, if this is accurate, because now that we're just messing with everybody's memories and going back and doing all this other stuff, like who even knows? But if this is accurate, we see in here that just as it was suggested earlier, that Eren has every intention of being a villain who is so, which, you know, he's presenting it in a way of like, okay, well, I'll go out and I'll get rid of all the other villains, and then that'll make it so that everyone can live in peace and they won't have to be worried anymore, which, like, we all know that's ridiculous. There's always going to be folks who disagree. There's always going to be folks who are against others. That's just like, it's a idealistic view of what the world can be. But it seemed very apparent, at least to me, that Eren had every intention from the beginning of creating a situation that would force everyone to have to come together. And that was kind of his plan on how he would help his friends and the people he cared about so that they could, I suppose, find support and make it through at the end. All of this would be worth it, because to him, it would all be worth it if he can save Armin and Mikasa. Then it will be worth it all in the end for him. That's all he really cares about. And then, you know, there's this whole thing with him and Historia, which I think he appreciates Historia because they are so similar. We talk about Gabby being a literal just, you know, reflection of Eren. She goes on pretty much the exact same journey that Eren has gone on, which also suggests that there may be more development coming from the Gabby storyline in relation to what's going on with Eren right now. But even then, she's just playing off of what he's already doing on the opposite side, where instead of going the villain route and saying, well, I'll make everyone have to fight against me, she's bringing everybody together. So, you know, we're already there. But Historia and Eren really are on such, they share so many similarities. The understanding the history and the connection to the past and the original energy of the Titans and of, I can't even remember her name now, but the original, you know, that they just have a deeper connection than what anyone else is even going to experience, which is going to frame the relationship in a different way than it will ever be able to be framed with Mikasa, regardless of Eren and her growing up together and Eren saving her life. You know, it's interesting that Eren mentions that, you know, Historia saved his life. Ymir, that's the original Ymir, not Ymir who was with the Eren in them. Y'all know this timeline. But it will always change the and flavor the relationship that Eren and Historia have. It will make it inherently different because they have a different connection. And I don't know what's up, Aaron. I do think Aaron had an understanding that obviously Mikasa had feelings for him. But I really feel like Aaron had so committed to this idea that he was not going to make it in the end that it kind of didn't matter. It didn't matter who had feelings for him. It didn't matter who he had feelings for. He wasn't committing to anybody because he wasn't intending to be here to commit to anyone. And more so, he really needed to create connections between all the others to give them something to fight for once he had crossed this line. You know, they dispel some of the story around the Ackermans and their connection to how they kind of like glomp onto somebody, and like then that's the person. Once they're triggered, that's the person. That's the folks that they're activated for to like save and defend. And so they kind of dispel some of that, at least specifically for Aaron and Mikasa, because clearly we all know like she's only running after this dude because she's in love with him. Like, yeah, there's the whole Ackerman thing that gives her these abilities and this strength and all these other talents. But I mean, clearly the girl's just obsessed with Aaron. She loves him. She grew up with him. He saved her, and that's just what it is. You know, and we see how this idea, this story of saving someone else and then that connection that it creates between you working out in different ways, because Aaron notes that Historia saved him. He said, you know, you saved me. And yet the way that he interacts with, there isn't that same, like, I give anything for you. But it is in a way, huh? Because, you know, Aaron making the decision that he will play this role is to save Historia. It is basically giving everything for her. And Mikasa is in a space where she's given this ability to choose whether she's going to do the same. And what does that even really mean? Like, does giving everything for Aaron to protect him mean literally protecting him physically, or does it mean protecting what he's given up everything for, which is to save his friends and his people? And I anticipate that Mikasa will choose to save everyone else, because that is what Aaron actually is fighting for. You know, so the idea that you are born of this world, so you have to fight for it. Aaron, in a sense, had to activate that survival instinct in everyone to say that you need something to fight for, and you need to feel that fire and that energy that calls you to actually fight, to actually not just sit down and take it, or to, you know, Ymir taught us a very important lesson. The original founder Titan Ymir taught us a really important lesson about being born of this world and fighting for it, because she didn't. She, in so many ways, was not even given an opportunity to do so, because she was born a slave. She died a slave. Even in giving, in receiving all of this power to become a Titan, she could have stepped on all of those people, squashed them, and went on about her business, and just never did, you know, because her spirit had been broken. And Aaron's spirit had never been broken. Aaron was uniquely crafted from a full circle of the cycle, from Ymir to Aaron as we see him now, from someone who was so broken they were never really given the choice. It's kind of like subconsciously Ymir created the individual who would be able to fight and not to give in, and kind of like a projection of her shadow, so that although Ymir never stood up and never fought back, this later version of herself, who had her powers, who had her ability, and eventually met her and interacted with her, would be able to do the very thing that she just had never been able to do when she was alive. And even now, as she's in the past, she isn't able to break that cycle. So, just creating someone who could be born, who could stay in this world, and who would fight. And so, like, this theme is just running through this story. We're seeing Aaron at the end, so they had a conversation in the beginning with Annie because she's like, I can't do this anymore. And then Mikasa is like, you can't give up. And so then she's like, okay, but if I have to kill Aaron, will you let me do it? Or will you be able to stand down? Or will you still be like, I have to protect him? I've already talked about what I think about that. So then we have that conversation back and forth between Aaron and Historia. And I'm just like, I still don't think Aaron's the father. I think that Aaron, like I said, I think Aaron's just kind of like, he's just resigned to his fate. And so he's just like, well, could have probably been with Mikasa, but she's special. I have special words for her from when she did not go ahead and just say that she likes him when they were at that, what was it, a circus, a carnival, something like that. She didn't just go ahead and confess. She was like, you're my best friend. We're always going to be brother and sister. You're my family. And I was like, you're stupid. And you get what you deserve. I was like, if he does go and hook up with Historia, then I don't feel any way about it. I don't care. And I'll tell you why I don't care. Because you didn't say anything. So you get what you deserve in the story. But anyways, so... I think he was just like, well, I guess I could go maybe, see what's going on with Historia. And then she's all like not wanting him to do his plan of self-sacrifice. And so he's like, well, I'm about to die anyway. I got 4 years left, girl. So you know what, whatever. Or like he's saying, I'm going to be gone for 4 years. So it's whatever. I don't really even care. And so I think he was just like, well, I'm doing all of y'all. I done went through all my choices. Annie's still inside that crystal, so she's not an option at that time. And he's just like, well, check y'all later. I got a plan. I'm going to go do it. And then so he's talking to his brother. He's talking to Zeke. And Zeke's the one who's like, well, it's because Mikasa loves you. It's because she likes you. Aaron's, of course. Well, I just don't think he cares. I think he's just kind of over it. He's like, y'all keep wanting to talk about these feelings, these like emotional, romantic connections. And he's like, I'm about to go run down this entire planet. Like, I'm about to just step on everything and release these Titans. And I hope y'all are training because you're going to need your training to make it. That's what he's thinking about. He said, what are you even talking about? And I was like, that's just cold-blooded. Like, stay with us, Aaron. Stay with us. So I don't think that he's really concerned about any of this. I do think that Historia just hooked up with somebody on this random farm. I don't know if he manipulated her memories or not. I mean, he could be manipulating all of our memories. Like, that's where the point I'm at. Like, I'm going to be skeptical of everything that happens because the minute we found out that old boy's sitting here just traveling back through time, just playing his little puppet master throughout this whole series, like, it doesn't matter. It's like, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. I'm going to need somebody else to see this and confirm this before I think this is real, because who knows what Aaron's been doing on the side to achieve his master plan. So I'm just taking everything with a grain of salt, taking it as it is, not putting too much into it, but saying like, okay, well, this is what it seems like is happening. So then we see the Titans. They're advancing. They're doing their thing. Aaron's back there. I also loved, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but I love the fact that Aaron's Titan actually looks like the devil now. Like, he actually looks like a demon. And it's so interesting because that was the whole thing behind, him being a Titan, behind this, like, original Titan, and the Titans were demons and they were all this other stuff. Like, the devil came and made a pact with the original Ymir, and it's like, oh, okay, so now we're seeing that, oh, well, the devil was Aaron, but like, he didn't look like that. But now this Aaron that's here in the now, like, he's got them pointy ears, he's got that mouth thing going on. And I was like, ooh, I said, he looks like a demon now. He looks like the devil. So he's become what we've heard throughout this entire story, even when it was proven that we know Aaron is not a devil, he is not the devil, but we all have a capacity for great evil just as much as we have capacity for great love and nurturing and all these other wonderful things, and that the idea of good and evil is subjective. So depending on whose lens, whose version you're referencing, someone can be very, very evil or someone can be very, very good. And regardless of where this started, the idea that the devil is the one who made a pact with Ymir is coming true. And that myth, that storyline is, although it was debunked, is not actually inaccurate. It's just not what we originally thought it was. We have more context now. And I do believe as we move into these last few chapters of SNK, we will find that there will be more context provided that will illuminate and show us how, even though some of the things were like, oh no, okay, so that isn't what actually happened, there's a grain of truth in everything. And so we'll start to again see those grains come out and hear more about them. I do think Aaron will end up dead. I don't think he's making it through the end of this, but who knows? Maybe he will. I mean, he's basically a divine being and can do whatever. So who knows? Who knows if he'll make it? Who knows if he won't? But I know I don't believe it's his intention to make it. So if he does, it won't be by his own. It won't be by his own will. Do I think that they will come together? The Army Corps, Mikasa, all of those folks will come together and take Eren out. I don't really honestly know. I think they're going to try because it's the only option that they have. And I think Eren's going to fight back as much as he can because he is going to try to take out as many people as he can to show that it's not the Eldians that are the enemy, but that it was just him. And so any blame that people have should be placed on him, and he's going to try to take out as many folks as he can. And we've already seen that come to fruition in the last panel of this chapter. So that's SNK 130. This is where we are. Pretty sure we're at the end. Pretty sure this is it. And we'll see what comes next. I think that's all of my predictions. I still am like, there's something like Armin will have a role to play in this. I don't know what Armin's going to do. I'm still kind of like, yeah, Armin's kind of weird. So there's room there for different developments to take place. There's room for a lot of different things to still happen. So I hope that it's not Mikasa who ends up having to deal the final blow, but I don't know. I just had a thought though. Like I was thinking about like when Mikasa kind of originally decided that she was going to fight back against that Titan when she was she out of gas? She wasn't fully out of gas, but it was the first time she saw Eren as a Titan. And she had that whole like epiphany moment about why she needed to fight, because if she gave up, then everything that they had been fighting for would be for nothing, and Eren would be forgotten, and what he had done would be forgotten. And I think we're going to have a callback to that. I think we're going to have a callback to that moment. But I also am now thinking we might have a callback to when they eventually find out that it is Eren who is the Titan, and that and so when she goes and she pulls him out of the Titan and saves him, I feel like we'll have a callback to that moment as well. So let's see what ends up happening. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're anticipating to come forth. Let me know when you think we're going to see a next chapter. Looks like they might be back on schedule for their monthly releases. I'm also trying to figure out how many more of these chapters are we supposed to have. I thought we were supposed to be done by, it is 2020. Were we supposed to be done by 2019? I don't even remember. But like, I need this to end before the end of 2020. I can't be going into 2021 talking about what's going to happen and where we're going to be at. So I'm ready. I'm ready to feel the conclusion. I hope that I am satisfied with the conclusion, but right now I'm just open. I'm open to whatever could possibly come forth from this. So we're going to see. Anyways, it's Camila Rose. I'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good night. Bye.